Are you confident a year from now that the American public is going to be in the same place, given that the stock market's at a new high? We're seeing some good jobs growth. We saw those retail sales numbers yesterday. Will it last? The public is very fickle.
Oh, Joe, look, I'm pretty confident for a few reasons. First are the historical norms. Over the last 60 years, the average loss of seats in the House of Representatives for the party in power in the White House is 27 seats. The margin right now is only 5 seats for the Democrats. So historic norms are moving in the Republicans' favor. But it has been absolutely hyper-fueled by a couple of things. First, the incompetency the president showed in Afghanistan and the withdrawal there. The American people are not going to forget that because it labels the administration, which sold itself in the campaign on competency, to be incompetent. And now these inflationary times are something that, look, my children, the older ones that are now in the working world, they have never experienced inflation like this in their lifetime. And they don't understand why the prices of everything's going up. And, my wife came home last week from a trip to the supermarket, bought a really big package of toilet paper, cost her $29. That's what real people are feeling out there. And there's no hope for inflation abating. And as long as that's the case, I think Democrats are in very, very big trouble. I heard them talking about changing the language on their plan. I mean, gosh, everything they say that plan's going to do, it's also going to, make coffee for you in the morning and brush your teeth. I mean, it is just a ridiculous set of claims that they're putting out there.
The political landscape is interesting. It's very divided. It's very divided. And I'm not talking about between Republicans and Democrats. I'm talking about in the Republican Party. There's 2 parties. It's very divided. In the Democratic Party, there are definitely, I think there's 2 parties, although one seems to be a little bit, being bullied by the other to some extent. I think the progressives sort of have the upper hand. At least it seems that way. But the Republican Party has its own issues in terms of what it wants to be. Is it a Glenn Youngkin sort of a Chris Christie party? And can you afford to completely alienate the MAGA Trump types from this next election cycle? How do you walk that line, Chris?
There's no reason to do that, Joe. Look, and that's why I wrote the book, because I think it lays out a plan for where we go from here. One, we have to stop looking backwards. 2020 is over, and continued vendetta and grievance politics about the 2020 election is not productive for the country, and it's not productive for our party. The Democrats are giving us an opportunity to lay out a hopeful, optimistic, conservative agenda for the country that contrasts with high inflation, failure abroad, and we can do that, but we got to consciously do it. We got to stop looking through the rearview mirror and start looking through the windshield. And Election Day 2 weeks ago showed us the power of that. Glenn Youngkin winning in Virginia, and even in New Jersey, Joe, where Jack Ciattarelli came close but just a bit short. Phil Murphy is the first incumbent governor in a long time to win re-election, and in the same election lose multiple seats in both houses of the legislature. So voters are sending a message, if you give them a reason to want to vote for you, about the future. When I ran for re-election in 2013, I was walking on the boardwalk in Asbury Park, which we had just rebuilt. And a voter came up to me and said, why should I vote for you? And I said, look at this boardwalk. We rebuilt it in 5 months. Isn't it great? And the guy said to me, that's what I got for voting for you last time. What do I get for voting for you next time? And the voters want to hear about your vision for the future, and our party's got to get away from the grievances and the vendettas of the past, but there's no reason not to embrace the policies that we put in while Trump was president, and combine those with the other things that folks like Glenn Youngkin and I have talked about as governors.
I just wonder who the standard bearer is going to be. You've sort of intimated that you might throw your hat in the ring, or are likely to throw your hat in the ring for 2024. Do you have... You do that whether former President Trump is a nominee, runs again. Either way, you think that you'd go for it?
Joe, if I decide to run, I won't defer to any candidate. And I don't think anybody who believes that they're qualified to be president and have a chance to win something important to say to the country, should defer to any candidate. If you believe you're good enough to be president of the United States, I think it's disqualifying if you say, but I'll defer if so-and-so wins. You know, Dwight Eisenhower's not out there. You know, and so we're not going to be deferring to anybody if I decide to run, but I won't make that decision until the end of next year.